Welcome into another instant reaction podcast here on Sikkim365.com. Today, we're going to talk about Baylor's 45-27 win over Oklahoma State on the road in Stillwater. The Bears get their first win in Big 12 play and are now 3-2 on the season. This was not a great performance, though. This was a performance that I know many Baylor fans were talking about it through social media and on Sikkim365 Premium. Very disappointed, and I can't lie to you, it was a very disappointing effort by the Bears. Obviously, you go to halftime and the score is 28-20, and you were kind of thinking that this was going to be the game where Baylor just blows out Oklahoma State. This is a very bad Oklahoma State team. We're going to find out more about them as the season goes on, but I think it's pretty clear in the early going, this team is not good at all. They just fired their head coach. They're kind of in what will probably be free fall. I mean, if they win a couple games here and there, maybe they'll be able to win, 2 games in Big 12 play, but I kind of doubt it. I kind of think that they're probably trending towards winless or maybe 1 win in Big 12 play, particularly if they get Haas Haney back, their quarterback. He actually gives them a chance to win more games. Zane Flores does not. And so that kind of just brings me back to this. Oklahoma State coming into this game had only scored 2 touchdowns in 11 quarters with Zane Flores. They scored 2 touchdowns in the first quarter against UT Martin with Haas Haney in the game. Since then, 11 quarters, 2 touchdowns. They come into this game, they score 27 points on Baylor, including 20 in the first half. This is not a good offense. This is probably the worst offense in the Power 4. They're obviously going to be trending up a little bit after this game, but when you just look at the raw numbers, they're in the same ballpark as UCLA and Virginia Tech and Northwestern and North Carolina. That's the range that they're in. And we've seen a few of those teams play Big 12 teams and just get absolutely smashed and not be able to move the ball at all. That wasn't the case in this game. That wasn't the case at all. Oklahoma State moved the ball all day long, 448 total yards of offense. Yes, a ton of that came in the first half, but that doesn't mean you can disregard it. And I know a lot of people are talking about, they ran trick plays early in the game. That's fine. Okay, they completed a couple trick plays that kept the chains moving for them and gave them a little bit of momentum. But in general, it was standard downs. I mean, they're running all over Baylor. They're throwing all over Baylor. They're making Zane Flores look extremely efficient, which that is not who he is at all. It was a very, very bad first half for the Bears. A first half that I just frankly could not believe was happening to this program coming off a loss to Arizona State last week. You expected them to be focused, re-energized. You expected this defense to want to continue to take steps forward. They played good against Arizona State. They really did. They gave Baylor a chance despite the offense turning it over 3 times. And the week before, against Samford, they were good. Outside of one drive, they played well, but they just did not have it in this game at all. They got out-schemed by a lot, out-coached by a lot on that side of the ball, and you could see it all through the first half. I mean, they were coming out in wildcat formations with their running backs in the backfield, just basically testing Baylor's front 4, front 7, and having a lot of success. They ran the ball at will in the first half. They threw the ball at will. I mean, it was a display. I mean, it really was. 20 points in the first half, and that was without a Baylor turnover. That was without really Baylor making a mistake. It was just Oklahoma State moving the ball consistently on the Bears, and that's a big problem. Like I mentioned, that the type of teams in the same category as Oklahoma State offensively are teams that other teams in the Big 12 smacked and didn't allow points to really at all. Just for some context, just adding to it, you got TCU beat North Carolina 48-14. UCF beat North Carolina 34-9. Utah beat UCLA 43-10. Texas Tech beat Oregon State 45-14. Just a lot of these results, the defenses of those Big 12 teams really overwhelmed the opponent, and Baylor just did not do that. I will give them credit. In the second half, they played a lot better. And as to be expected, right? I mean, again, at some point, the trends are going to take over and Oklahoma State's going to revert to being what they had been all year. So that's what happened. That was basically it. Baylor made some adjustments. I felt like they played more physical. They got some 3-and-outs. That allowed the offense to gain a little bit of momentum despite what was a bad third quarter. And once again, that third quarter just showed, okay, this team continues to not be able to play complementary football. The offense rolling in the first half, second half starts, the defense gets some stops, and the offense doesn't do anything with it. And so you're just left sitting there going, man, are they going to be able to pull away in this game, or is it going to be close? Are they going to mess around and potentially lose this game? I really didn't think so, but they just continued to mess around in that third quarter and keep Oklahoma State within a safe distance. I mean, they were in this game for a lot of it until really the fourth quarter. Baylor started to wear on them and pull away. But in general, very disappointed in Baylor's defense. There's not a lot that I can point to that tells me, oh yeah, this was a good game for them. I'll just mention a few guys. It was nice to see Caleb Burns out there at linebacker. He had a tackle for loss, had a couple tackles on special teams, I believe, that were pretty nice. He showed some things. Bo Onu, another freshman, had a tackle for loss. Seeing some guys who maybe should get on the field a little bit more. One thing of note, DJ Coleman at star, I felt like he played well again. I don't really quite understand why he's being rotated out. I think he needs to be on the field a ton right now. He is clearly their best star and a guy who I think is pretty impactful. Outside of that, really not going to give a ton of credit here. I mean, Keaton Thomas had 8 tackles, but again, this was not a good performance, particularly in the first half. At the end of the day, Oklahoma State runs for 157 yards on 32 carries. They throw for 291 yards, and Baylor once again does not force a turnover. In fact, they lose the turnover battle again on the day, 1-0, which was Caden Knighton's fumble, which I'll get to here in a minute. But in general, I think that's the area of frustration for Baylor fans. I think that's the area of frustration with anyone that watches Baylor is just, man, why can't this defense just get some things fixed? Why can't they correct some of these things? They just haven't been able to. And it makes you really think, is it a personnel problem? I think you almost have to start saying that because for some reason, this team's getting ran on and they still want to play 2 high safeties where they could easily just put another guy in the box. But what you would tell yourself is, okay, if they do that, then they're going to be more susceptible in the pass game. So do they trust their secondary? And the answer to that is no. And so they're really in a tough place. They haven't really been able to be consistent at what they want to do because it's in some direction they're giving up something, whether it's on the ground or through the air. And today you saw that again. I did feel like in the second half, again, they made some adjustments that certainly helped. But I think more of that is just Oklahoma State reverting to who they are and not being very good. But in general, 27 points is way too many points to be giving up to this Oklahoma State team. Before I move into the offense, just really quick want to mention here, I understand that Mike Gundy was fired. I understand that Doug Meacham comes in and calls plays, and there's a little bit of a twist there, some wrinkles. You're in Stillwater. I get all that. Oklahoma State's not a good football team. And Doug Meacham's not a better coach than Mike Gundy is. He's just not. And so while there's some creative stuff that they did, it shouldn't have been too much for Baylor in this game, and it definitely shouldn't have forced Baylor to give up 20 points and a half. That absolutely should not have happened. I'm not going to allow that excuse to really cross my mind much at all in this game. Baylor's got to get better on that side of the ball. They have to, and we've seen glimpses of it. We really have. I mean, we saw it against Arizona State. We've seen glimpses, but we haven't seen a full product on display on the defensive side. That's going to have to shift. They got a lot more challenges coming up and a lot more offenses that are far better than Oklahoma State's, even if they're not great. All right, flipping over the offensive side, a little bit more positive here, obviously, with Sawyer Robertson. 393 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, added another touchdown on the ground. He actually ran the ball 5 times in this game, but the 2 late ones are the ones that everyone's going to remember. Converted, got a touchdown on one of them, which was a really interesting call there for him to keep it when you're up by 11 against a team that, you feel like you're just putting away. But, hey, got the touchdown there and then converted the 4th down that put the game away as well. So good to see him running a little bit. Still doesn't look as, athletic or as healthy as he was at the beginning of last year and still tentative. But they're going to need him to run the football at least a little bit more than he has in the early going, because that can be a game changer. In today's game of college football, you definitely need that part of your game at the quarterback position. I mean, there just aren't very many teams that can get by with just a true pocket passer throughout the entire season. He was awesome. Like I said, 5 touchdowns in this game, almost got to 400 total yards of offense, was at 399. And then an interesting note that we heard through the broadcast, He's got the longest streak by a quarterback of throwing 3 touchdowns in a game since Kyler Murray in 2018 at Oklahoma. Sawyer Robertson just getting the job done, playing really good football, was much more accurate today too, I felt like, for the most part. Only missed a few throws. They forced a lot of pass interferences as well, so even more yards could have been added to the scoreboard there. As far as his receivers go, Josh Cameron, 6 for 98. Good to see him have a bounce back after the tough game against Arizona State. Cole Wilson, 6 for 76 and a touchdown. Kobe Prentice had a big 73-yard touchdown as he leads the Big 12 in touchdown receptions this year. I mean, he is phenomenal. I still don't know why he's not on the field more. I guess he's just not as complete as maybe some of these other receivers. But, man, he is just so impactful when he's on the field. I mean, he's just a touchdown machine. So great to see that from Kobe continuing to increase his production. He's a very good player, very important part of Baylor's offense going forward. Michael Trigg had 3 for 62 and a touchdown. Man, Trigg was awesome in this game, and he didn't even play the full game. He sat out a whole lot of that second half. I'm betting it was just precautionary. He came back in late, made a huge catch for Baylor to kind of put this game away, but he's so valuable to this team. They really can't afford to have him sitting out. Good news is, though, backup tight end Matthew Klopfenstein caught a touchdown. A nice little fake QB draw and the throw over the top from Sawyer Robertson. Caden Knighton had a really good catch, a 39-yard grab that was a really awesome grab for a running back. Special stuff, that's what we've talked about a lot with him. He's a very good pass catcher out of the backfield, and that grab was a contested catch. It was really impressive. Unfortunately, he ends up fumbling the football instead of just getting down after that. So kind of negated what was a really great play for him, and he had a very special day, which I'll get to here in a minute. Ashton Hawkins, 2 for 15. He played in this game, which was nice, played the complete game, but wasn't extremely productive. He had 2 drops that I saw as well. So some things need to get corrected, things need to get on the same page, but in general, this passing attack is full go. They are very, very good, and that's why Baylor can still win games going forward, because they're going to challenge a lot of these defenses in the Big 12, and frankly, looking around the Big 12 today especially, a lot of points are being scored in this conference, and I feel pretty good that Baylor's going to be able to score points on some of these defenses that I don't feel like are very good. And Baylor's defense is in that category as well, but I do think Baylor's offense can take advantage of a lot of these defenses that I've seen thus far. Okay, Baylor's running game. So there are some problems here, and this is something that I think we're going to see progress a little bit going into Kansas State, and then, of course, the bye week. I think some things are going to change. Some things are going to be shaken up some. But Bryson Washington had 10 carries for 77 yards and a touchdown, but he is, again, clearly banged up. And I just don't think they really trust their running backs, their backup running backs, fully behind him. And so that's made them kind of decide to throw the ball a lot more. They need Bryson to be fully healthy. This should have been a game where he had, 20, 25 carries. And I do think if he had gotten those carries, he probably would have had, 150, 175 yards. It's just a different level, obviously, for him. He's one of the best running backs in the country. They need him on the field. They didn't have him on the field full go all day long. He seemed to be fine standing on the sideline, but he did leave the game a couple times. So tough news there, and they clearly need these other running backs to step up. Really good to see Caden Knighton with 5 carries for 81 yards. He had a 49-yard run, which was his biggest run of the day. Obviously, the 39-yard reception as well. Very good player, very explosive. He's not your grinder, and that's what we've seen in the early going. He's not your one-for-one replacement of Dawson Pendergrass, but he does so many things with his pace. He's just very fast, very quick, catches the ball well, can turn a short gain into a big gain, but he's not as powerful as a Dawson Pendergrass. Great to see him, though, as a true freshman making these kind of plays and that kind of impact. Michael Turner, 13 carries for 47 yards. We finally got to see a more healthy Michael Turner. He dealt with a lot coming back from an injury that cost him his senior year of high school. He was battling through that all offseason, and now you're starting to see him get a little more comfortable, I think. And his size, his strength, his one-cut ability is very good. I think they're going to need him in the long haul, just that strength, that power. And if you can have 3 backs like that, I think that's where you get excited about this offense potentially going forward. Now, They need Bryson. Don't hear what I'm not saying. They need Bryson to be that guy, but to have two guys that are maybe building some confidence and some trust in the offense is going to be very key for them going forward, because I do think they need to run the ball even more than they did in this game. Overall, though, it was a good day for the Baylor offense. I mean, 612 yards of total offense, 219 yards on the ground, 5.6 yards per carry. The 393 that I mentioned, 11.2 yards per pass, really good there. The offense in general really buzzed. They played really well. They played with a lot of confidence. There are things that we can all question about the offense at times, especially running the football. I think that needs to continue to grow and develop. But the one thing I think we do know is this offense is going to give a lot of these defenses in the Big 12 problems. They're going to be able to score points in this conference. Now it's just about, can the rest of the team come together and complement each other? That's what's lacking right now. That's what we haven't seen. And Dave Aranda is going to have to challenge these guys. Kansas State got a big win over UCF to kind of try to get their season back on track. And that's who Baylor faces next at McLean Stadium. Just another nugget on this game. Baylor is now 10-8 on the road against Power 4 opponents since the start of the 2022 season. That's actually a pretty good number when you look at what they've done at home, where they're 4-12 at home during that time span. Something has to give, but the Bears have to play better at home and get a great opportunity against Kansas State coming up before a bye week. But in general, I think a disappointing performance by the defense in this one. The offense carries the Bears to a win, and Baylor is now 3-2, 1-1 in the Big 12. But thanks for listening. This has been an Instant Reaction podcast on SicEm365.com.